The following video was recorded in the Haunted Hobart, a hotel in Hobart, Australia, with a reputation for paranormal activity. And in October of 2021, a paranormal investigation team set up security cameras inside the building overnight, hoping to capture something they couldn't explain. What they got was 3 separate incidents, all caught on silent CCTV footage, all happening in the early morning hours when the building was completely empty. The man reviewing the footage describes himself as a skeptical person, which makes his reaction to what the cameras caught all the more worth paying attention to. The first 2 events happen at 5:53 a.m. No staff, no guests, nobody in the building. Watch.
A movement right there, and then it proceeds to go like up the stairs, but it could be someone, just walking on the outside on our front porch right there, which is logically what it is, but it almost seems that the camera's kind of bending, and it bends the staircase a little bit, and then right after it goes to the top of the stairs, the hat seems to jump up before it falls off onto the ground and kind of rolls around. It's very weird. It's something I can't explain. Now, even weirder than that is the next day, that same woman came back in, and she was wearing the same exact clothes, and which is fine. I'm not judging. Maybe she had some, had a fun night. Maybe got lucky. She could have stayed somewhere close to here, or maybe she lives there. Who knows? But she. How wacky this is. Like, what is she doing? She seems to be walking weird. And then she's like peeping back in. Like, how long was she out on the porch just like staring in after the video cuts off? It's wild. It was a bizarre thing. I don't know what's up with that lady, but more importantly, I don't know what's up with that hat. That's the most evidence I've seen of something, and I saw it with my own eyes. It was right in front of me as I'm talking to this woman. It was very weird. I can't explain it. Make up your own mind on what you think, and let me know. Thanks for watching.
From 2 separate camera angles focused on the staircase near the entrance area, a black hat resting on the stair railing suddenly falls to the floor without anyone near it. Moments before the movement, the footage appears to capture something unusual near the front entrance, a faint distortion near the doorway, and what some viewers believe looks like movement crossing near the staircase itself. What makes the clip unsettling is not just the hat falling, but the sequence leading up to it. Investigators reviewing the footage pointed out that the distortion appears seconds before the object moves, almost as if something invisible passed through the area first. But according to the team, the strangest part came the next day. The woman connected to the hat incident reportedly returned to the hotel wearing the exact same clothes she had on the previous night. Staff members later claimed her behavior immediately stood out. For several minutes, she allegedly stood staring silently at a wall without reacting to anyone around her. She then began making bizarre comments to both employees and customers, including repeatedly talking about eating dog food before wandering through the building acting disoriented and suspicious. Paranormal researchers sometimes associate this kind of behavior with locations believed to have lingering spiritual activity, especially in places where repeated reports of apparitions, distortions, or object movement have already been documented. In many cases, investigators describe witnesses becoming unusually fixated, detached, or emotionally altered after experiencing unexplained events inside allegedly haunted environments. Whether the woman's behavior was connected to what the cameras captured remains unknown, but for many viewers, the combination of the distortion near the staircase, the unexplained movement of the hat, and the woman returning the following day behaving strangely has made this one of the more unsettling pieces of footage connected to haunted Hobart. The following clips were both captured by security cameras inside what appears to be the same home, both in the early morning hours, and both involve something that seems to be paying very close attention to a sleeping baby. In the first clip, the timestamp reads, just after 1:30 in the morning on March 25th of 2023. The footage is in grayscale night vision, filmed from a high corner angle looking down at a bedroom. A large bed sits in the center of the frame, and to its left, a baby's crib with a small form tucked inside. The room is still. The door to the left of the crib is slightly ajar, and for the first 20 seconds or so, nothing moves. Then it got worse. Watch. The bedroom door slowly begins to move on its own, opening wider before shifting back again, despite no one appearing anywhere near it. But according to the family, this wasn't the only incident. In a second clip, recorded on a separate night in April of 2019, at approximately 5:20 in the morning, another camera positioned directly above a bassinet captures something else entirely. Watch carefully. A teddy bear placed near the baby begins to move on its own. The motion is slow and deliberate, with the toy shifting position while nothing else in the frame appears disturbed. No hands enter the shot. No one approaches the crib. The room remains otherwise completely still. What unsettles many viewers is the pattern between the two recordings. In both clips, the activity centers around the child's sleeping area, almost as if whatever is present is drawn toward the crib itself. Some paranormal researchers point to old stories involving watchers, entities said to linger silently near sleeping children, often first noticed through subtle environmental changes like moving doors, shifting objects, or unexplained sounds during the early hours of the morning. Whether the two incidents are connected is impossible to know. But for many viewers, the idea that both cameras captured unexplained activity centered around the same baby is what makes the footage difficult to forget. In this next clip, a man claims he had finally decided to leave his house after days of experiencing what he described as unbearable activity inside the home. Hoping to get away from whatever had been disturbing him, he temporarily stayed somewhere else. But according to him, the activity didn't stop when he left. It followed him. Watch closely.
Algo está sonando en el cuarto. Creo que es la cama.
While filming inside the room, the man lifts the comforter slightly and points the camera toward the space beneath the bed. For a brief moment, a pair of pale, bare feet can be seen. Skeptics argue that someone could simply have been hiding underneath, a child, a friend, or someone playing a prank. But according to the man filming, when he looked again moments later, there was no one there. What unsettled many viewers even more was the folklore some people connected to the footage afterward. In parts of Latin American paranormal tradition, there are stories of childlike entities said to appear inside homes, often partially hidden beneath beds, in corners, or just outside direct view. Some compared the figure to legends surrounding La Niña de las Sombras, translated loosely as the Shadow Girl, a spirit described in online folklore as appearing silently inside domestic spaces before gradually becoming more aggressive over time. Others connected it to stories associated with La Llorona, where sightings involving children or crying voices are believed to signal a lingering supernatural presence inside the home. But according to the man, the encounter didn't end there. After several more days of disturbances, he decided to place a Bible near the exact spot where he claimed he first saw the feet. Then, during the early hours of the morning, he says he heard a voice telling him to look underneath it, so he started recording again. The same pale feet and lower legs appear beneath the object once more. But this time, the footage captures something else alongside it, a whisper repeating a single word in Spanish, ayuda, which means help. What makes the clip especially disturbing to some viewers is the implication behind the voice. In many paranormal traditions, entities that imitate children are often described as deceptive, using cries for help or weak voices to draw attention and lower fear before escalating activity further. We can only hope that's not the case here. The following clips were recorded inside what appears to be an abandoned commercial space, a former retail unit with unfinished walls, exposed ductwork, and the kind of industrial silence that makes every small sound feel wrong. The man filming had been exploring the location and decided to leave a static camera running in one of the darker rooms, stepping back to let it record on its own. For a stretch, nothing happens, just a faint ambient hum and the stillness of an empty space. Then it got worse. Watch. What you just heard wasn't a single knock or a creak. It was a violent, rapid barrage of metallic crashes and bangs, like heavy metal racks or poles being hurled against a wall in quick succession, all with no visible source anywhere in the frame. The room was empty. No one was there. When he goes back in with a flashlight to investigate, he finds the ceiling torn open near an access hatch, damaged in a way that raises more questions than it answers. Some believe what was captured is consistent with poltergeist-type activity, a term used to describe disturbances characterized not by visual apparitions, but by aggressive, physical, or auditory force, sounds and movement without an obvious agent. The second clip picks up in a similarly dark, confined space, this time a cluttered crawl space or attic area, accessed through a panel in a low ceiling. Watch. If you look closely, something like a human hand is still for a moment before suddenly moving. The reaction from viewers was immediate. Some believe there may have been a person trapped somewhere inside the space. Others think the movement looked unnatural, especially given how motionless the hand remained beforehand. What makes the clip disturbing is the uncertainty. The camera never stays long enough to reveal what the hand is attached to, or whether something was actually hiding deeper inside the crawl space the entire time. Now, in this next clip, a man with no named introduction documents something he found on the wall of his house. A faint, smudgy impression sitting high up on a plain tan wall, shaped unmistakably like a small hand. Watch.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try and get it.
Okay, come over this way.
Okay, because it's like you can't see it, and then suddenly it's there.
And
There's no way there's an ant walking across the street. But there is no way anybody could physically get there.
Well, considering you look, and there's the stairs. This thing is 6 feet above the stairway.
Somebody would have to be,
Okay.
and there's a wall here.
Zoom in on me. I mean, look at this. Okay, I'm standing on the stairs for Christ's sakes.
And there's the hand.
You got 8-10 feet.
And you can only see it at certain angles. But there is no way anybody could have gotten that handprint there. It's physically impossible. And it wasn't there a couple days ago.
No, that is screwy. We gotta put that out and ask people about it. I mean, that's just, you can't do that.
I mean, I'm gonna...
And that is the left hand.
Yeah.
That's the left hand. So we're talking
somebody would have
on
had
the
to...
stairs. You're looking at
That...
Okay,
there's no way.
you're like 15, 20 feet in the
Yeah, there is no way somebody... Is it still there?
Yeah, it's still sitting there. I can see it clear as day.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in a little bit.
You're talking 15, 20 feet in the air for somebody to put a handprint there.
And we had the place painted recently, but it is not, it was not there. I know it was not there.
So Cricket was sensing something today.
Well, it was weird because she kept freaking out all day.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this thing appears. Wait, come back. 'Cause I want to show. Okay, there's you trying to reach up to where it is. So even if you stood on the stairs, can you move up a little bit? So even if you stood on the stairs, because there's the handprint,
You can't
reach it. And you're over 6 feet. There's no way. Okay. And Amethyst has been acting really weird today too.
Well, I'm coming down to deal with her.
Okay.
That handprint sits too high for a child to reach casually, and the shape, a distinct palm with finger smudges fanning outward, isn't the kind of thing that just appears on a painted wall without explanation. Some believe impressions like this are residual contact, a spirit pressing through from the other side and leaving a physical trace behind. Others think it could point to a child's presence, which paranormal investigators often describe as among the most emotionally charged and difficult to dismiss. You can see why he kept coming back to it. Whatever left that mark apparently had somewhere to be, right at the top of those stairs. The following video was recorded by a man in Virginia who'd been noticing strange things happening inside his shed. Strange enough that he set up a Ring security camera in there to try to catch something on film. The shed itself is cluttered with tools, old boxes, and years of accumulated junk. The kind of space that's easy to ignore until it starts ignoring you back. The camera is mounted high in a corner, looking down over the whole room, and on the afternoon of April 19th of 2026, at around 4:26 p.m., nobody is inside. Nobody visible, anyway. A door at the back of the room is closed, the floor is still, and then it isn't. Watch.
Man, look at this.
What unfolds over the next few minutes is one of the densest collections of unexplained activity caught on a single static camera in recent memory. A door swinging open on its own, loud thuds and heavy dragging sounds filling the room with no visible source. A ball rolling out of the open doorway and stopping dead. A wooden shelf crashing to the floor, and then, most disturbingly, being lifted back up and out of frame against gravity. And then there's the music. Old-fashioned, tinny, with a female vocalist. Faint at first, then growing steadily louder, as though something is physically walking it closer to the camera's microphone. Right up until a sharp pop is heard, and something lets out a high-pitched cry of pain. When the man Yeed enters the shed to investigate, you can hear how shaken he is, breathing heavy, voice cracking, yelling into the dark attic above him, and getting nothing back. What he finds up there doesn't answer anything. Broken nameplates reading Mr. and Mrs. Ronald J. with the surnames snapped clean off, a shattered Rolex-style watch, shot glasses etched with the logo of Sweetbriar College, a women's-only institution here in Virginia, all of it belonging to someone else, someone whose connection to this shed he can't explain. Many viewers think what's captured here is classic poltergeist behavior, not a haunting tied to a location so much as an intelligence that interacts with physical objects, creates sound, and seems capable of responding to the presence of a camera. Poltergeist activity in paranormal research is often described as kinetic, loud, and escalating, the kind of presence that doesn't hide but performs. Others think the objects found in the attic matter more than the activity itself, that whoever Ronald J. was, something tied to him, or to whoever he shared that nameplate with, hasn't fully left the space. The shelf being lifted back up is the detail that's hardest to walk away from. Things fall, that's physics, but whatever pulled that shelf back up wasn't working with gravity, it was working against it. So what exactly is living in that shed with him, and does it know he's looking? Now, in this next clip, a group of friends decide to explore the darker parts of the building they're staying in at 4:15 in the morning. What starts as a casual, laughing walkthrough of a dark office space slowly shifts into something far more unsettling. The man filming leads his two friends through room after room, trying locked doors, peering into a cluttered storage area, and eventually unlatching a back door that opens into complete darkness outside. The mood is still light. They're joking, whispering, shining a phone flashlight into corners until they saw something terrifying. Watch.
Oh, my pitu, my pitu, my pitu, my pitu, my pagi. My pagi, my pitu, mari kita tengok, mari kita tengok. Buka lampu, Pi, buka lampu, Pi. Nak guguk babi. Kau buka apa? Macam ni, Pi. Macam ada orang tu. Allah, lampu pula tutup. Ya babi tu. Bodoh. Kau tinggal aku ke bodoh? Macam babi tinggal aku. Lampu tutup pula. Ruang ketang, ruang jiluan, ruang ketang. Bodoh. Bimbang. Diam. Tak pasal pipi je. Diam. Ya. Dok orang tu. Dok sini gelak dia. Allah Akbar. Bodoh ah. Ya Allah. Bodoh. Babi gugah ya Allah. Allahu Akbar.
If you look closely, there's a figure, and according to the guys, it's a pokong. Near the edge of the darkness, a pale figure can briefly be seen motionless in the background. The group immediately reacts, and according to the men filming, what they saw was a pokong, a ghost from Indonesian and Malay folklore, believed to be the spirit of a dead person trapped inside their burial shroud. In traditional beliefs, the body of the deceased is wrapped tightly in white cloth before burial, with bindings around the head, neck, and feet. Legends claim that if the soul is unable to move on, the spirit may return in the same wrapped form. unable to walk normally, and often described as hopping or appearing stiff and motionless in dark places. Reports of Pocong sightings are especially common near abandoned buildings, graveyards, and isolated roads late at night. Some viewers believe the figure was simply a person standing outside in the darkness. Others are convinced the reaction from the group was too immediate and genuine to be staged. But for those familiar with the legend of the Pocong, the clip taps into a fear that has existed for generations. The following clip was recorded inside what appears to be a private collection room, floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves packed with hundreds of clown dolls, figurines, and ceramic pieces. A human-sized clown seated in a chair in the background, holding two smaller ones on its lap. The woman filming walks through the space calmly at first, taking it all in, until something just off-camera stops her cold. Watch.
Might do that. Are you a textual? Well, thank you. You see that? I did not.
She freezes mid-step, her expression shifting from neutral to wide-eyed shock, and she raises her palm outward like she's bracing against something invisible. Collections like this, especially ones centered around objects with human-like features, such as dolls or figurines, have long been tied to unsettling theories in paranormal folklore. Across multiple cultures, objects that resemble the human form are believed to act as vessels, not necessarily because something is placed into them intentionally, but because their likeness creates what some traditions describe as a spiritual anchor, something that makes it easier for unseen entities to attach themselves or manifest through them. Clown figures in particular tend to amplify that discomfort, not because of anything inherently supernatural about clowns themselves, but because their exaggerated expressions create a disconnect between emotion and appearance. Smiles that don't feel natural, eyes that seem fixed yet aware, making it easier for the human mind to interpret subtle changes as something more. The following video was recorded during a live stream session out of Columbiana, Alabama, in September of 2019, when three men were in the middle of a casual conversation about haunted artifacts, specifically about a trip one of them had taken to the Afterlife Museum in West Virginia, a place known for housing objects with dark histories. On the table in front of them sat two vintage baby dolls, brought out as part of the discussion. Nothing about the setup seemed alarming. The man on the right, joining remotely via video call, was mid-sentence describing what he'd seen at the museum. Death masks, haunted dolls, the kind of objects people warn you not to bring home. Watch.
Death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they got the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah,
what happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Screen, I didn't see. I missed it. Hey, I was just trying to see the head kind of wobble like it was trying to turn.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought Brothers were playing with me.
Joe, you want to take that one home with you?
As long as it's temporary. They had death mask. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmate when they got the chair. I mean, it was bizarre. And I thought, yeah,
what happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it because I thought it was my eyes.
And we're going to build a museum on
That'll be cool.
It's going to be a haunted museum and a Bigfoot museum, artifacts, and, you know, for storytelling and that kind of stuff.
Right. I had recently went up to West Virginia to the, what was it called? The Afterlife Museum. The Archive of the Afterlife Museum. That place was really interesting. They had all kinds of dolls that were haunted, were supposedly haunted. They had death masks. They actually had the cap they would put on death row inmates when they got the chair. I mean, it was bizarre, and I thought, yeah.
What happened?
Like 20 seconds ago, I thought, yeah. I ignored it. Because I thought it was my eyes.
I didn't really. It was this one right here, wasn't it?
The head of the dolls were slowly moving. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the man on the call admits he noticed the movement 20 seconds earlier and chose to ignore it, telling himself it was his eyes playing tricks. Both men react simultaneously and independently, which is exactly the kind of detail skeptics struggle to explain away. Some believe objects that have passed through environments like the Afterlife Museum can carry residual energy, absorbing something from the people and places they've been around. Others think the doll may have been responding to the conversation itself. If you watch the replay closely, you'll notice the right doll also shifts slightly at the same moment. So what exactly set it off? The following video was recorded on a home security camera set up in a living area, looking down a dark hallway toward a closed white door. The house appears quiet, no one moving, no lights on, nothing out of the ordinary by any visible measure. And then, fairly early in the footage, something changes. Watch. Some viewers think the figure is a camera artifact, a long exposure glitch layered over the original feed. Others aren't so sure, pointing out that the object moving independently happens in the same footage, and that kind of pairing, a visual apparition followed by physical movement, is something that keeps showing up in home security cases like this one. Whether the movements in this clip were caused by vibration, an unseen draft, a camera illusion, or something else entirely remains unclear. But moments like this are exactly why ordinary security footage so often ends up at the center of paranormal debates online. Now, in this next clip, a man wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on his basement stairs. Not once, not twice, but over and over for nearly 10 minutes straight. What makes this especially unsettling is that he thought it was over. Earlier that week, he'd visited a cemetery, and after that, every bit of activity in his home had gone completely quiet. He believed whatever had been following him had returned to where it came from. He was wrong. So he grabs his flashlight and starts moving through the dark house, narrating as he goes, clearly shaken. Watch.
Alright, so I was woken up this morning to the sound of walking up and down my basement stairs again. It was over and over and over for probably 10 minutes straight. It was just walking up and down the basement stairs. Now, this is the first any type of activity I've had in the last week. Now, I opened the cemetery up on Monday, and since then I've had absolutely no activity here at home. So I thought that whatever followed me, or whatever it was, returned to the cemetery, and that was it. But like I said, I woke up to, the back door's locked, all the windows are locked.
While he's mid-sentence, a loud crash cuts him off. A green shaker bottle now on the kitchen floor, with no one near it. He picks it up, hands unsteady, breathing heavy, and just says, "I don't know," over and over. You can hear the defeat in his voice. Some believe this is classic poltergeist behavior, objects displaced by an unseen force as a direct response to the witness's presence. Others think whatever came back from that cemetery didn't come alone, but what do you think? The following clip was recorded by a man somewhere in Carrollsville, late at night and in the middle of a heavy rainstorm. He's parked in his Jeep outside a building near a gas station when something across the street stops him cold. According to him, whatever it was had already been there when he first noticed it. Pale and vaguely humanoid, standing in the rain near the pumps. He gets out of the car, which, honestly, most people would never do. And the moment he does, something shifts. The temperature of the whole situation changes. Watch.
Oh my God. What the f do you want? Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone, please.
That figure in white, standing across the road in the dark and the rain, doesn't move the way anything should. And then the sound starts. A high-pitched, wavering wail that doesn't match any emergency siren, any car alarm, anything you'd expect to hear outside a gas station at night. He screams at it, pleads with it, and eventually scrambles back into the Jeep just to get away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the final glance in his side mirror before he speeds off. The figure is now under the carport he just left, and it appears to be contorting. Some viewers familiar with Carroll County's long history of documented hauntings have pointed out that the region around Carrollsville has carried paranormal folklore for generations. Others focused on those sounds, that unnatural, layered wail, and suggested it's consistent with what some researchers call an intelligent haunting, where a presence doesn't just appear, but actively communicates through sound and proximity. Skeptics think the figure is a person in a raincoat, and the sounds are distorted road noise bleeding through the recording. But that doesn't explain why it followed him. Where exactly did it go? The following clip dates back to June 28, 2013, when a man was at home in Arlington, Virginia, during a powerful storm. With nothing else to do, he picked up his iPhone and began recording the storm from his apartment window, capturing 3 short clips simply to pass the time, with no expectation that anything unusual would come from it. Days later, while going through his phone, he considered deleting the videos, but before doing so, he decided to watch them one last time, and at first, nothing stood out. Everything seemed normal, just flashes of lightning and the outline of the storm outside. But after replaying one of the clips a few more times, something finally caught his attention. Something that hadn't been visible to him in the moment while he was recording. Watch. For a brief moment, the faint figure of what appears to be a girl, or possibly a woman, can be seen standing near the window. What makes this detail particularly unsettling is the context surrounding it, because there was no power in the apartment at the time, meaning no internal light source that could create reflections. And directly opposite the window is a solid wall, leaving very little room for the figure to be explained as a reflection from outside. He was also completely alone in the apartment when this was recorded, and more importantly, he did not see or sense anything unusual while filming, which raises the question of how something so visible on camera could go entirely unnoticed in real time. Some interpretations suggest that certain conditions, like storms, power outages, and sudden changes in light, can create the perfect environment for unusual visual anomalies, where shadows and reflections behave in ways that can be easily misinterpreted. However, others believe that moments like this, especially when something appears only on camera and not to the human eye, may point to something that exists outside normal perception, only becoming visible under very specific circumstances. Whatever was captured in that clip remains unexplained, and without further evidence or updates, this incident continues to linger as one of those recordings where something is clearly there, but what it actually is has yet to be determined. In this next video, a cafe that now serves customers every day was once an old hardware store, a place that already carried years of history before it was ever transformed. But what makes this location particularly unsettling isn't just its age, it's what reportedly happened there, because according to accounts tied to the previous owners, the original owner's son passed away inside that very building about 9 years ago, leaving behind a story that didn't end when the place changed hands. The new owners began noticing something strange not long after moving in, because every afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., long after the cafe had closed and everyone had left, they would hear distinct footsteps moving through the space, slow, steady, and consistent, as though someone was walking through the cafe during hours when it should have been completely empty. Curious and unsettled, they decided to set up a camera to see if anything could explain the sounds they had been hearing. This is what they found. If you look closely, something in the frame appears to move, subtle enough to miss at first, but clear enough on replay to suggest that whatever is moving is not part of the normal stillness of the room. In other recordings, they captured additional activity inside the cafe. Watch. In this clip, a chair moves on its own, with no one present in the store at the time, no visible cause, no disturbance in the environment that could explain the motion, which only deepens the unease surrounding what might be happening there. Moments like this begin to shift the narrative from coincidence to pattern, because when movement is repeated in an empty space, especially in a location tied to a past tragedy, it invites speculation that whatever once occupied that space may not have fully left. Now in this next video, a man named Troy begins documenting a series of disturbing events happening inside his home, and from the very beginning, there's a clear pattern to it all. Because whatever is present doesn't simply move things randomly. It almost feels like something is attempting to rearrange the space to its own preference, only for it to come off as chaotic and destructive, leaving rooms in disarray as though an unseen presence is constantly interfering with the natural order of the house. Drawers are left open, objects are shifted out of place, and furniture appears slightly repositioned between moments, not in a way that feels accidental, but in a way that suggests intention, as though something is actively interacting with the environment and reshaping it, even if imperfectly. Watch this.
It's getting more intense.
You can hear heavy footsteps, like someone is moving freely from one part of the house to another. The same activity has been reported in multiple areas of the house, including the third floor where his son usually plays, which only adds another layer of concern, because now it's not just about unexplained movement, it's about something potentially occupying spaces meant to feel safe. Watch.
It's happening on the third floor, too.
Again, the same stomping, the same scattered movement of objects, but this time accompanied by several orbs drifting through the frame. At this point, the pattern begins to feel less like coincidence, and some warn that repeated disturbances like this can escalate over time if whatever is behind it is not addressed. And that's where it starts to get more unsettling, because if this is something that's growing more active, then what Troy is experiencing now might only be the beginning of something far more intense. So if you've ever dealt with something like this, Or have any idea what steps might actually help in a situation like this? Share your thoughts, because in cases like these, sometimes the difference between things getting better or worse comes down to what you do next, and whether or not you understand what you're truly dealing with. In this next video, two sisters are home alone inside their bedroom when their house alarm suddenly goes off.
I'm recording. Wait. So loud. Do you hear that? Can you check the security footage? Oh my god. Oh my god.
The security app shows the front door wide open, as if someone has just walked in. Naturally, they assume it's a break-in, but when they replay the exact moment the door opens, there's no one there. To make things worse, a police siren can be heard outside around the same time, adding to the panic. But that was not all that happened.
What is it?
They hear their bedroom door open. Convinced someone is inside the house, they make a split-second decision to escape through the window. After the footage spread, many viewers blamed the wind, but the sisters posted another clip explaining why that theory doesn't hold.
Wondering that maybe the door was the wind, but clearly, as you can tell, you have to kind of force down to close it fully. And there's just so much space between, don't mind. There's kind of like a huge distance, so there's no way the wind could have gotten that.
After explaining the door situation, they showed what completely changed their perspective. A moment captured on camera that made them question everything they thought they knew about that day. Take a look.
Clear.
A small, shadowy figure dashes past the camera. It moves incredibly fast, too fast to clearly define. There are no visible features, no clear arms, legs, or face, just a dark mass that crosses the frame and disappears. And if you look closely, the motion camera seems to adjust, almost like it's tracking something moving freely through the house. The sisters say this is a new build, not an old property with some long-forgotten history. So the typical house history explanation wasn't even on their radar. But the sequence is what unsettles them most. The front door opening first, then the bedroom door, then the shadow figure appearing inside. They believe something forced its way in, and that raises an earlier question. If something unseen opened the front door, could it have also opened the bedroom door? Skeptics might argue camera glitches, motion blur, pressure differences in the house, or even a small animal moving quickly past the lens. Security cameras, especially in low light, can distort shapes and exaggerate speed. But the sequence of events, alarm, door opening, bedroom door moving, shadow figure, happening back to back is what unsettles most viewers. So what do you think? A chain of coincidences and technical quirks, or something that entered that house and moved through it freely? The following clip was captured during a paranormal investigation in San Antonio, Texas, on December 11th, 2016, inside a location that investigators had already described as deeply unsettling long before this footage was recorded, with reports of cold spots forming without warning, faint whispers heard in empty rooms, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched that seemed to follow anyone who stepped too far inside, especially in the darker sections of the building where the air felt heavier and the silence never quite stayed silent. According to those familiar with the location, it wasn't uncommon for equipment to malfunction or spike unexpectedly, as though something unseen was interfering with the environment, and there had even been previous claims of shadowy figures moving just out of sight, never fully visible, but always close enough to be noticed. Watch.
Do you need help moving on?
Alright, so let's play this shit back.
Let's see if we got quiet. Is there anyone here right now? Can you give us a sign that you are here? Reach out and touch my shoulder. My right shoulder. Give my jacket a quick tug. If anyone's here, could you please state your name? Now we're just using my phone because the other recorder died.
Whoa, that was weird. I think. What? I think I panned over here and it looked like,
What appears in the footage is difficult to dismiss because a white mass suddenly darts from left to right with a speed that doesn't quite match anything physical in the space before it seems to shift direction and reach toward the investigator, a movement that feels almost reactive rather than random. The way it moves has led many to believe this isn't simply dust or camera interference, but a ghost, especially because of its shape, its direction, and the timing of its appearance. Moments like this tend to blur the line between explanation and speculation, because while there are always attempts to rationalize what's seen, the behavior of whatever appears in this clip doesn't settle easily into a clear or comfortable answer, leaving behind a moment that continues to raise more questions than it resolves. And for now, whatever was captured in that investigation remains a mystery. The following video was captured by a man who had already grown used to being woken up in the middle of the night by things he couldn't explain, to the point where it had become a routine, something he no longer questioned immediately, but instead documented, almost as if he knew that whatever was happening would eventually show itself on camera. Before this night, he had been dealing with faint knocks at odd hours, objects shifting slightly out of place, and moments where he would wake up feeling like someone had just been standing over him, watching, only for the room to be completely empty when he fully opened his eyes. Over time, it became harder to ignore, especially when he started hearing low sounds at night, scratching, dragging, and at times something that almost resembled breathing, close enough to feel real, but never visible long enough to confirm. So when it happened again that night, when a loud sound suddenly pulled him out of sleep, he reached for his phone, hoping to finally catch something clear enough to explain it all. What he captured instead only made things worse. Watch. The door creaks open first, slow and deliberate, with no one near it. Then a small black creature lunges onto the bed directly at him, letting out a shriek that doesn't sound like anything domestic, followed by a deep growl. Many would immediately label something like this as a demonic presence, and in many reported cases, it's said that when something like this begins to feel comfortable within a space, when it's no longer hiding or limiting itself to small signs, it can escalate even further, sometimes attempting to influence or even possess the person living there. In this next clip, a man in Chihuahua, Mexico, had been running a studio space he'd been using for work. A cluttered, horror-decorated room filled with vintage masks, a porcelain doll, and a large, ornate mirror. He'd already lost a week's worth of security footage because the cloud trial on his camera system expired before he could save anything locally. Then, on a Tuesday night, while he was away recovering from an eye injury, his security camera triggered a movement alert at 9:10 p.m. He ignored it at first. It wasn't until Thursday that he finally came back to check, and that's when things got harder to dismiss. Watch. The security camera, the kind set to tracking mode, begins panning slowly across the empty room on its own, as if following something invisible. Then, a door that was slightly ajar in the background swings fully shut with deliberate, unhurried force. The doll by your right also moved without anyone in sight touching it. When the man arrives with his handheld camera that same night, he walks to a corner of the floor near the desk, a floor he says he'd left spotless, and points the light downward. Have a look.
Un poco. Yo había dejado limpio. Y hay unas huellas ahí. Esos días hizo bastante frío, hizo mucho frío. Bueno, para que alguien anduviera descalzo, lo dudo mucho. Para la gente de aquí de Chihuahua sabe que no se puede andar uno descalzo en la calle. Y luego miren. Yo calzo del 9. Ese pie es enorme, está muy, muy, muy grande. No es mi pie. O sea, la verdad sí está muy, muy grande el pie. Le digo, oye, ¿pasas?
A large, dirty, barefoot print on the floor. He holds his own shoe next to it for comparison. He wears a size 9, and the print is noticeably bigger, both in length and width. There was no sign of forced entry, so from that point on, the debate around what's causing all of this only intensified. Some people are convinced the activity is tied to a large mirror he brought into the studio. According to him, the strange occurrences began almost immediately after the mirror arrived. In paranormal belief, mirrors are often considered portals, reflective surfaces believed to thin the boundary between spaces. Many cultures warn that mirrors can act as gateways, allowing entities to observe, attach, or even pass through. If that's the case here, it could explain the sense of being watched, the movement being tracked, and the idea that something is present without fully manifesting. But others believe the mirror isn't the source, it's the doll. Dolls act as vessels, not necessarily haunted at first, but capable of housing or attracting a presence over time. The fact that the doll moves during the footage and that disturbances seem more physical, doors slamming, objects shifting, leads many to think the doll is what's anchoring whatever is inside that studio. And then there are those who think it isn't one or the other, but both. Some believe the mirror may have opened the door, and the doll became the place where whatever came through decided to stay. Until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. Now in this next clip, a couple decides to do something many people would strongly advise against. Sitting together in a darkened room, candles flickering around them as they place their hands on a Ouija board and ask whatever might be listening to make itself known. Watch. Before this moment, they had already experienced strange activity in their old apartment, which was located right next to a hospital, a detail that, for many people, immediately raises questions, because places like that are often associated with intense emotional energy, loss, and unresolved moments that some believe can linger. They reported hearing unexplained sounds, feeling watched, and noticing subtle disturbances they couldn't explain, which led them to wonder if something might have attached itself to them. So when they moved into their new place, instead of leaving it behind, they made a decision that would change everything, using the Ouija board to find out if whatever they had experienced before had followed them into this new home. Watch.
Anybody there? Is anybody there? Can you give us a sign? Can you give us a sign? God. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. Dude, there's nobody in here. There's nobody in here. What is going on? Oh.
Some viewers believe this confirms their fear, that something from their old apartment may have stayed with them, something that didn't leave when they moved. But others argue something far more unsettling, that it wasn't about something following them at all, but about what they may have invited in at that exact moment by choosing to use the board. And that's where the situation takes a more serious turn. Because people familiar with how these sessions are traditionally handled were quick to point out a critical mistake, something that might seem small but carries heavy implications in paranormal belief. The fact that they removed their hands from the planchette without properly closing the session or saying goodbye. According to those beliefs, that final step isn't optional. It's meant to close whatever line of communication has been opened by skipping it. Many believe they didn't just stop the session, they left it unfinished, leaving what some describe as an open doorway, something that doesn't simply close on its own. On another day, they decided to do it again.
Is anybody there? Is anybody there? No.
Jacob, we have to get out. We have to get out.
Moments like this are often used as examples when people talk about the risks tied to using a Ouija board, not because of what is guaranteed to happen, but because of what can happen when boundaries aren't understood or respected. The idea isn't just that something might respond, but that once that line is opened, it may not always be clear what exactly is responding, or whether it intends to leave when you're done. And that's the part many people overlook, because it's not always about whether something followed them from before. Sometimes it's about what they may have invited in, without fully understanding how to send it back. This next video was recorded by a man who has been documenting what he describes as an increasingly aggressive haunting inside his home. And by the time this footage begins, he's already terrified before he even reaches the bottom of the stairs. It started with smaller disturbances, noises in the night, his dog refusing to behave normally downstairs, a growing sense that whatever was in the house was no longer passive. He blames the spirits for recent bad luck in his life, including a car accident. And on this particular night, he grabs his phone and heads downstairs because something has set his dog off again. Watch.
Nouvelle vidéo, on entend du bruit, mon chien s'est énervé d'un coup. Devient catastrophique. Les esprits deviennent agressifs. Oui, j'arrive, ma fille. Et puis, c'est qui me porte la poisse. Là, il y a 2 jours, les gendarmes m'ont rentré dans la voiture. Elle était devant chez moi, mais la voiture est épave. Beaucoup de chance. Beaucoup de chance. Et l'excuse, c'est le keuf avait une poussière dans l'œil. Vous y croyez, vous? Ben, moi, malheureusement. Oh putain, c'est quoi ce bordel encore, putain. Ça fait que ça, c'est incroyable. On essaie de trouver des solutions, mais il n'y a rien qui marche. Cherche, mon chien, cherche. Il y a quelque chose? Oh putain. Ça devient bizarre. What the... Oh putain, ça m'a piqué. Ah. Putain, c'est quoi ça? Mais c'est quoi ce délire? C'est quoi ce délire, putain de merde? Oh là là. Putain, c'est quoi ce délire? Putain de merde. Ça devient n'importe quoi ce baraque. Si vous avez des idées, des conseils. Ah, des idées, des conseils, je suis preneur. Honnêtement, ça... Oh putain, c'était quoi ça? Oh fuck off. Oh sa mère. C'était quoi ça, putain? C'était quoi cette merde? Si. Ah, putain. Ah, fille, qu'est-ce qui t'arrive? Non. Non. Mais non. C'est quoi ce délire? Mais c'est quoi ce délire, putain de ça? C'est quoi ce voix de sa mère? Putain. Sa mère.
He claims to feel fingers pressing along his spine, then shouts out in pain as the camera lurches violently, as if something struck him. Then it got worse. The television switches on by itself, blasting loud, dramatic music into the dark room, and his dog stands near the glass door, with her tail tucked, too frightened to move. He uses the remote to shut it off, but within minutes, it turns back on, this time changing channels and raising its own volume, while the remote sits on the floor in front of it. Some viewers immediately pointed to poltergeist activity, a term used to describe a type of disturbance associated with physical force and object manipulation rather than a simple haunting. But the man's response to all of this is what makes the second clip even more unsettling, because rather than leave, he keeps confronting it. Watch.
prochaine vidéo, j'ai décidé de me battre contre cette chose malveillante.
Horrible. Ça fait un moment que j'ai pas fait de vidéo, mais là ça empire. De jour en jour. Des marques, des griffes. C'est insupportable. Putain. Ah, c'est toi qui me fais peur. Alors, il y a quelqu'un? Putain, c'est insupportable. Putain. Putain, c'est quoi cette merde encore? Non, mais c'est pas possible.
He descends the same staircase again, speaking in a tense, hushed voice, saying things are getting worse day by day. Marks, scratches, unbearable. His dog startles him in the dark. Then a loud bang erupts from somewhere off camera. The camera whips sideways, and from inside a closed toy chest, a child's musical melody begins playing on its own. He opens the lid. The music cuts off the moment he slams it shut. For some viewers, a toy activating inside a sealed chest with no one near it lands differently than anything electronic. It feels deliberate, like something announcing itself. And if that's true, the question isn't whether it's still down there, it's whether it ever planned to stop. Now in this next clip, a man is riding his motorcycle alone down a dark, isolated road at night, heading to a wedding, when something on the roadside stops him cold. At that hour, there's usually nothing to see except the road ahead, so when something appears in the distance, it immediately stands out. Watch.
Fuck, man. Oh, fuck, bastard! Oh, shit! Oh, shit, man! Oh, shit, man! Oh!
As his headlight stretches forward, it catches the outline of a figure walking along the road, tall, pale, and unnaturally still in the way it carries itself, not reacting to the approaching motorcycle, not stepping aside, just continuing forward, like it doesn't even acknowledge him being there. And that's where it starts to feel wrong. Some viewers believe what he encountered could have been a ghost, the kind often described in roadside sightings, figures that appear briefly, usually at night, sometimes tied to past accidents or tragedies, known to show up without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving the person who saw them questioning what they just experienced. So if you were riding down that same road, alone, and that figure appeared in your headlights, would you slow down and try to understand what you're looking at? Or would you keep going and not look back? Now, in this next video, a man claims that every single night when he returns to his home, something is already there waiting for him, and he decides to prove it. The building itself looks abandoned in stretches, a barrack-style structure at the end of a dark gravel path, lit only by a single street lamp overhead. One night, he hears footsteps like someone running around the house. Shortly after, this happens.
what that was, so I'm gonna set up my camera here. I can watch down the hallway.
Some viewers believe this kind of activity points directly to a poltergeist, but until more updates are shared, this remains unsolved. The following video was recorded back in 2019 by a man's mother after days of insisting that something was inside her house, something she didn't understand, and something her son refused to believe. She kept telling him there was a demon in the house. He brushed it off, told her she was overreacting, that it was all in her head. So that night, when she started hearing noises coming from the kitchen again, she decided to record it. Not because she was sure of what she'd find, but because she wanted proof. Something she could send him, something he couldn't explain away. Watch closely.
In 2019, my mom said she was fighting demons in her apartment. I didn't believe her. She sent me video proof. Now someone tell me what in the grudge shit was going on here. I put picture at end of video, pause it, turn phone upside down and zoom in.
In the top right corner, something appears. It doesn't step out. It doesn't fully reveal itself. It just peeks, a head-like shape, barely visible, emerging for a moment and then pulling back like it knows it's being watched. 1 second it's there, the next, it's gone. Some people believe this is exactly how certain entities operate, especially ones described as demonic, never fully revealing themselves at first, but lingering at the edges, observing, waiting, slowly making their presence known in small, controlled ways. But till this day, what his mother saw that night, whatever kept drawing her attention back to that same part of the kitchen, remains a mystery. But what do you think? In this next video, a woman named Victoria goes down to her basement to check the breaker. A simple task that shouldn't feel out of the ordinary, but in her case, the basement had already started to feel like a place she avoided whenever she could. For weeks leading up to this moment, she had been experiencing something she couldn't fully explain, faint whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, quiet enough to second guess, yet clear enough to make her stop what she was doing and listen, sometimes sounding like someone trying to speak just out of reach, other times resembling her name being called in a low, almost careful tone. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself it was just the silence playing tricks on her, but deep down, it never really felt that simple. Then one night, she heads down to the basement again. Watch. Out of the silence, a voice says, "Hey," not distorted, not distant, but direct, like it came from right there with her. Some viewers believe moments like this suggest an intelligent presence, something that doesn't just exist in the space, but interacts with it, choosing when to reveal itself and how, starting with whispers before becoming more direct, almost as if it's testing how far it can go. Others warn that voices like this, especially when they sound calm and intentional, can be far more unsettling than loud or chaotic disturbances, because they feel closer, more personal, and harder to dismiss. Now this next video follows a man named Nate, whose experiences seem to trace back to something he unknowingly brought home after working at a cemetery, a place already tied to death, memory, and in some beliefs, lingering presence. Since then, things haven't been normal for him. He's reported waking up with unexplained marks on his body, scratches that appear overnight with no clear cause, and there have been moments where objects in his home, including knives, have been thrown or displaced in ways that feel far too deliberate to ignore, suggesting that whatever is happening isn't just passive, but capable of interacting with its surroundings. Then one morning, he captures this on camera. Watch.
So I was just in the shower, and as I was getting out of the shower and drying off, I heard something or someone run down the stairs. I thought maybe it was a dog, but she is sound asleep on the bed. So that tells me it wasn't her, and it also tells me that she didn't even hear it. So something ran down the stairs. Then I didn't hear anything after that. The front door camera didn't go off, so nobody left. And check the back door. Back door is locked. Both locks. Hello? Not sure This activity has really been ramping up these past few days. And it's honestly been a little unsettling, but both.
After he says hello, a faint response can be heard, almost like something is answering him, acknowledging his presence in a way that feels intentional rather than coincidental. What makes this even more unsettling is the pattern he's noticed, because most of the activity seems to center around specific areas of the house, particularly the kitchen and the basement. On another day, after hearing strange noises coming from the kitchen, he decides to check it out, expecting to find something ordinary. Instead, he sees this. Watch.
Something was banging here in the kitchen. Sounded like something hit the wall or something hit the floor. I heard something. Of course, it's empty. Back door is locked, top and bottom. What the That's up there. I wonder if that's what I heard. What is with the knives and the scissors and the sharp objects? Jesus Christ.
Considering everything Nate has already experienced, the marks, the thrown objects, the voice responding, this moment feels less like an isolated incident and more like a continuation of something that has been building over time, something that is becoming more comfortable, more visible, and possibly more direct in how it makes itself known. And when something answers you, moves things, and leaves marks behind, it raises a much heavier question, not just about what it is, but about how long it has been there and how much further it might go. The following video was recorded inside a gym, a place that's supposed to be full of movement, noise, and activity, but according to Danny, who works there, some of the things he's been experiencing happen when the gym is completely empty, when everything should be still. He's talked about hearing sudden door slams echo through the building, the metallic clanging of bars and dumbbells shifting without anyone nearby, footsteps moving across the stairs, as if someone is going up and down between floors, and even treadmills that seem to start or react on their own, as though something unseen is interacting with the equipment. One night, while staying back to finish some work, something happens. Watch.
Ok, vuelvo a grabar. Ahorita si se dan cuenta las luces ya están apagadas. Vuelvo a grabar porque esto pasa mal. ¿Viste? O sea, mira, vamos a pensar. Son 10:35. Ahorita ya no debe de haber nadie. No voy a poner ni pausa ni nada. Ajá. Tú lo escuchaste. Yo lo escuché. Tú lo... O sea... Veamos. Esa fue una, ¿no? La otra. Tú escuchaste las subidas de escaleras. Como si corrieran. No voy a poner pausa porque la neta... me llaman loco, me dicen es el aire, me dicen son tus energías, me dicen madre y media, pero mira, no estoy loco, no estoy loco, está cerrado. Está cerrado, digo, si lo fuerzo no quiero romperlo, pero... No mames. Y si se escucha la música, sí, porque yo no tengo control de la música. Ya me harté. Ok. La verdad es que estoy muy nervioso, ¿no? O sea, se me pone la piel chinita. No sé si es mi subconsciente o no, pero yo ya lo estoy sintiendo así como lo escucho. Pues no lo escucho, lo siento, ¿no? Es como... No, o sea... Mi madre. Me dicen en los comentarios, ignóralo, ¿no? Ignóralo y bueno, vamos a tratar de... de su puta madre. Ay, no, ya.
The heavy punching bags moving, the footsteps, the music, and walking past certain areas only to find equipment positioned in a way that suggests someone had just been using it, even though no one else was there. On another day, while talking about his experiences, he recalls seeing something that made him stop in his tracks. Watch.
Esto lo voy a grabar porque literalmente son cosas que solamente... Bueno, no me pueden pasar únicamente a mí. Y agradezco no ser el único porque la verdad que poca madre. Pero este es mi área de trabajo. Y ese es el gimnasio. Está cerrado con llave. O sea, como puedes ver está cerrado con llave. Y justo de aquel lado, justo allá, por ahí, se escuchó que algo se movió. O sea, las barras olímpicas... Se escuchó cómo las volvieron a poner ahí en su lugar. Porque cuando las ponen en su lugar tiene un sonido muy específico. Y justamente ahí, lo voy a poner ahí. Esa banca de ahí, cuando yo estoy desde mi escritorio, se alcanza a ver. Y literalmente se vio como alguien se asomó como hacia acá y se volvió a meter. Se escondió. Se empezaron a escuchar ruidos, ahorita está la música y tal vez este video tenga copyright, pero se empezó a escuchar el sonido y... ¡Ay, puta madre! Ahí está, ahí está, ahí está. No, man.
For a brief moment, something appears to peek out from one of the rooms, not fully stepping into view, but enough to suggest presence, enough to make it clear that whatever he saw wasn't just a trick of the light. After sharing these clips, viewers who recognized the gym began coming forward with their own experiences, mentioning times they felt watched while working out alone, moments where they heard unexplained noises, but chose to ignore them, and even instances where they noticed movement in mirrors or reflections that didn't quite match what was happening around them. When multiple accounts begin to align like this, across different people and different times, it starts to build a pattern that feels harder to dismiss as coincidence. Now, this strange video was posted on December 27th, 2025, by a veterinary hospital in Madison, Alabama. But what makes it even more unsettling is that the footage itself had reportedly been kept private for nearly 4 years. According to the clinic's owner, Renee, something happened that night that caused all employees on shift to stop what they were doing. Have a look.
That's weird. Where is that coming from? It don't sound like it's coming from. Okay, so you still want to do banana bags, 15 mils an hour, head of starch, 4 mils an hour. Over this way. Alright. Medication, metronidazole, it Scarlet? Clipped off? Wait. I clipped it off before doing this. Is somebody dropping the dog up there? That's coming from up there. They may have done that when they switched the bag. Is it the new bag through? No. Alright, who's making it noise? It's coming from the way. No, it's not. Where is it? It's not in here. What is that? What, phantom dolls? That's fucking weird. Is it Charles? You heard that, right? We all heard that. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. What did you hear? A dog keeps yapping. Is it Dakota? No. Look, it's coming from over here. Why don't you look in the front porch and make sure they didn't dump one or throw one in the pen outside or something? I didn't hear anything. You're not hearing that. Three of us heard it. I didn't hear it, no. You heard it, right? I heard it. I didn't hear it. It sounds like it's coming from this side. You can't hear it either, though, right? No. Look at that fence out there and make sure somebody throw one in the fence. I heard nothing. I was like, what are y'all talking about? Yeah, that's a brand new bag. That's fucking bizarre. Yeah. That's I haven't heard it. I still haven't heard it. All three of us heard it. And it was coming from that. It's gonna get in that room or something. Like it's like it was like right playing the board. We're gonna play that back. I didn't even hear anything. Can you play it like specifically in those rooms or anything?
After reviewing the footage, Renee says there was no logical explanation for what they witnessed, and this wasn't an isolated event. Over time, strange activity became almost routine inside the clinic. Dog kennels, securely latched, would open on their own in the middle of the night. Office supplies and lightweight equipment were found scattered across rooms that had been locked. Staff members reported hearing scratching sounds coming from empty runs long after the last patient had gone home. Sometimes, motion sensors would trigger in rooms where no animal was being treated. For a veterinary hospital, that detail hits differently, because this isn't just any building. It's a place filled with heightened emotion, fear, grief, relief, heartbreak. It's where some families say goodbye to beloved pets, and many pet owners will tell you that after their animal passes, they still hear the faint scratch at the door, still feel the weight at the foot of the bed, still think they see a quick shadow dart past in the hallway. Some believe animals, especially loyal ones, linger. And that's the theory whispered among staff, that perhaps some of the dogs who passed away in that clinic never fully left, that the scratching isn't imagination, and that the kennel's opening isn't mechanical failure. So what do you think? Is it residual energy, emotional imprints replaying themselves, or something else using the setting to its advantage? Renee says she doesn't know what's in her clinic, but she's no longer convinced it's empty after closing time. The following video was captured by a security camera inside a house where the owner has already had his fairer share of terrifying experiences. The kind that don't just happen once and stop, but repeat in different forms over time, slowly turning his home into a place he no longer feels completely safe in. He's reported hearing footsteps moving through empty rooms, objects shifting when no one is around, and moments where it feels like someone is watching him from just out of sight. At a point, the activity became intense enough that he decided to take action, bringing in crosses and placing them around the house, along with performing a few protection rituals in hopes of restoring some sense of peace. For a while, it seemed like it might have worked, but then this happened. One night, he hears what sounds like someone moving inside his house. Not subtle noises, but clear movement, enough to make him get up, check every room, and do a full sweep of the place. But he found nothing. so he went back to bed. But the camera captured something else entirely. Watch. If you focus on the table area, something suddenly appears, a white figure moving fast. After seeing the footage, he shared it with several of his friends, and most of them came to the same conclusion, that considering everything he had already experienced, this could be the clearest indication yet that whatever is in his house hasn't left and may not have been affected by the measures he took at all. And that raises an even more unsettling thought. Because if protective steps like that didn't stop it, then whatever he's dealing with might not be something that's easily removed, or something that intends to leave. No further updates have been shared since then, leaving this incident without closure and whatever was captured on that camera, still without a clear explanation. But what do you think the camera captured that night? The following video was recorded by a man who works night shifts at a construction site in the middle of nowhere, a place so quiet that even the smallest sound carries for miles. But lately, he's been noticing something he can't explain, a voice, one that doesn't sound human, but doesn't sound like any animal he knows either. Listen. At first, he assumed it had to be a cat. Stray cats often wander through empty construction zones, and some of their cries can sound disturbingly human. But when he went out to check, there was nothing there. No movement, no glowing eyes in the dark, nothing. What makes this even stranger is the timing. He says it happens almost every night, around the exact same hour, like clockwork. The sound begins suddenly, continues for long stretches, then stops just as mysteriously as it started. In paranormal lore, there are entities often described as wailers, spirits believed to express themselves through crying rather than appearing visually. Some are said to be trapped in a place tied to their final moments, repeating their grief over and over. Others are believed to cry as a way of drawing attention or drawing someone closer. And in cases like this, witnesses often say the most terrifying part isn't seeing something, it's hearing it, knowing it's there, but being completely unable to find it. Before you decide what this might be, listen again. Whatever was crying that night remains a mystery. In this next clip, a man records a video to send to a medium because he's run out of explanations for what's been happening inside his house. Strange movements, reflections that don't match reality, and the constant feeling that he isn't alone. But after watching this footage, even someone with no paranormal background would immediately recognize the source. Watch carefully.
Empecé a grabar porque hace unos días yo sentí que había algo. Realmente yo estoy solo ahorita, pero hace rato vi en ese cuarto como que una sombra. No sé. Vean. Ahí se ve algo. Ay Dios, yo realmente estoy solo. Vean, está completamente solo. Solo estoy yo. No se puede meter nadie aquí por la puerta. No, realmente estoy solo. Ni debajo de la cama, de hecho el espacio es muy... Vean. Ahí se alcanzó a ver algo. Si pueden ver, yo estoy solo. No hay nada, no hay nadie en casa. No hay nadie. De hecho, hace días yo compré este troll porque se supone que aleja toda energía negativa. Pero ya lleva varias noches pasando esto.
As he walks through his home, a human-shaped figure can be seen moving in reflective surfaces, especially mirrors. They don't appear clearly, but you can see the form pass by, and then, moments later, it disappears. The movement doesn't match his position, and there's no one else in the house. Some believe mirrors and glass can act like thin barriers, places where entities can appear briefly without fully entering the physical space. And when something shows up repeatedly in reflections, people start to question whether it's simply passing through or already inside. But then he mentions something else. A troll he recently bought. He explains that the object caught his attention because it was said to absorb evil energy. Objects like this are sometimes referred to as spiritual vessels, items believed to attract, store, or interact with unseen forces. And ever since bringing it into the house, the activity seems to have intensified. It's easy to see why most viewers immediately connected the two. Some of his friends believe the figure might actually be the troll itself, not physically moving, but spiritually active, carrying out the purpose it was meant for, cleansing the space. But others strongly disagree. Whatever it is, it doesn't stay in one place, and its repeated appearances suggest it could be dangerous, feeding on energy, or even trying to manipulate the household. But I'll let you be the judge. Is this a protective spirit doing its work, or something far more dangerous? Now this next video circulated over 15 years ago, and to this day, it still unsettles people who've seen it. One night, a group of teenagers decided to break into a funeral home, a place most people wouldn't even feel comfortable walking past. after dark. Funeral homes are quiet by design. They're places where bodies are prepared, preserved, and kept overnight, sometimes for days. And many believe that when someone passes, whatever part of them lingers doesn't always leave immediately. They began recording, expecting nothing more than an empty building. But what they captured was absolutely terrifying. Watch.
The fuzz is here. Stop, stop. Cops over there. See him? Focus, focus.
Go in the back here.
Alright, dude, let's just go. I don't think he's looking at us. Let's go, let's go. Dude, it's a sensor light. It's a sensor. Don't worry. Just give it a nudge.
Break it? Holy shit.
Nice! Alright, shh.
I don't know about this, guys.
Dude, creepy place. Don't be a weirdo.
Dude, let's go in here. Yeah, let's check this out.
Shh. Hold up, let me get a night shot. Oh, it is a night shot. Go. Yeah.
What the f?
Oh my god.
This is scary.
It feels colder in this room. It seriously feels
Dude,
colder.
I can feel that.
Dude,
that's
this place
nuts.
is haunted. I'm telling you, this
It
place
smells
is
different.
You smell those flowers?
It smells
There's
like
not
an
even any
old
flowers
person's
in here.
house.
It's freaking crazy. Dude, did you see that?
What the fuck? Dude, you see it? I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah. What was that, a tissue?
Fucking man. Let's get out of here. No way that happened.
At first, everything seems still. Then suddenly, something moves beside the lampstand. That moment alone was enough to send panic through the group. They were already backing away, ready to leave, when one of them made a decision that would make things worse. He walked further inside, hoping to find something, anything, that could explain what they'd just seen. Instead, this happened.
That tissue tripped me up.
Dude, what the
Let's get the f out of here already. Why are we here still? What are you doing, man? Let's go.
Come on, let's check this out. It's the only one out of place.
No way, that's just a coincidence.
Did you get it? Did you get it on tape?
Well, yeah, I think I got it.
This is f***ed up.
No, man, let's get out of here. I'm tired of it. What the f, man? Dude, what is that? Jeremy, where'd you go, man?
What the?
Fuck out, go. God damn it.
Why are we going downstairs?
We didn't
Just
have
go,
to
just
climb
go.
upstairs. Just look for the hangs in the window or something.
Oh, this is great, man. Just fucking great.
Let's get away out of here. Let's get out of here.
Let's go. Just look around for a window or something.
Maybe over here.
Look.
Fuck, man.
Oh my God.
Nothing. Turn around. Other way. Let's
right.
get the f out of here.
Holy shit.
Funeral homes hold more than silence. They hold the last physical presence of people who were alive just days earlier. And workers in these places have quietly shared stories for years. Unexplained footsteps in preparation rooms, doors opening where no one entered, and the heavy feeling of being watched when alone. Some believe places like this carry residual energy, especially in rooms where bodies are kept overnight, where emotions from families, grief, and death itself concentrate. Till today, whatever caused all these remains a mystery. The following video was recorded by a woman named Simone during what was supposed to be a normal evening walk. On her way home, she passed a strange building she'd never paid attention to before. The place looked abandoned, quiet in a way that didn't feel normal. Even from outside, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was inside, watching her. The anxiety hit so suddenly that she didn't even stop to question it. She just left. A few evenings later, she passed the same building again, and this time she heard something that stopped her cold. A voice, and it sounded exactly like her sister calling her name. Watch.
I don't know why the lights are on, but I'm going inside of this house. I just heard my sister's voice, and I'm sick of this. And I need to figure out what's going on so I can put a stop to it. The fuck? is this chair in the middle of the floor?
Mimicking entities are known for doing exactly this, copying voices of people you trust to lower your guard and pull you closer. They don't need to show themselves right away. The voice alone is enough. The moment she entered, she noticed a chair sitting in a strange position, like it had been moved recently. And before she could even finish explaining what she was seeing, the figure appeared, briefly, but enough to confirm something was there with her. After that encounter, Simone tried to convince herself it was tied to the building. But soon after, things started happening in her own home. Banging sounds at night, footsteps when she was alone, whispers with no clear source, and an overwhelming feeling of fear that would come out of nowhere. One day, a friend came over after hearing everything, and this happened.
Hey guys, it's Simone again.
You kidding me?
Yeah. So I'm here with my friend Lexi, and I thought that this was over, but it's still happening. Something from this entity is still trying to get to me, so...
I thought you were kidding.
No.
Like, this is horrible.
I'm not kidding.
I don't know how you've been living like this. This is literally, like... I've checked this door 5 times. There's no way anyone is in the backyard.
Yeah. So, still going on, and I just wanted to come back and report to you guys that it's still impacting my life every day.
I'm so sorry. This is insane.
Here's the unsettling theory. If the activity followed Simone home, then this may not be about a haunted location anymore. It could be attachment. When something fixates on a person instead of a place, it's hard to walk away from something like this without answers, but Simone isn't ready to stop investigating until she understands what's happening. The following clip comes from a family living near old gypsum and coal mining land, right on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains, in a home that's been passed down through generations. This isn't some new place with no history. Their parents lived there, their grandparents lived there, and it was always considered part of the family. But lately, it hasn't felt that way. Some days, the house is completely normal. Other days, things happen that no one can explain. Footsteps when no one's moving, voices when no one's speaking, and the constant feeling that something else is inside with them. One afternoon, things escalated. Watch closely.
What'd you hear?
I heard a help or something.
On the back porch?
There's one back there.
Okay, hold on.
And then it's like I heard Lila's voice say it, and then I heard Dad just say hey, and I didn't do anything about it because I don't know.
Sissy's voice?
Yes. And then I heard some whistling.
I need you to, okay, alright. I'm gonna stay upstairs because Gunnar is freaked out. He's freaked out. Alright. It was loud and it was Lila.
I heard Dad's voice just say hey.
Yeah. So there's 2 different voices on the back porch. I'm not opening the door. I am upstairs with Gunnar right now. There's nobody out there, Michael. There's nobody out there. Okay. Alright, I love you too.
The little boy suddenly reacts to his father's voice calling out, but his dad isn't home yet. He's still on his way back. His mother immediately senses something isn't right. She didn't open the door, and she didn't check outside. Instead, she gathers the dogs, trusting her instinct that whatever called out wasn't him. Then she hears this. Listen carefully.
Oh my God. Why is my door opening?
A voice clearly says, "Help," and then the door starts shaking violently, like something is trying to come in. Then this happens.
Don't. Okay, Sarge, get over here, baby. Come on. My house is really dark. Okay, just leave her alone.
When she says, "Look at the dogs," viewers noticed something disturbing in the background, a faint voice saying, "Don't look, they're mine." That's when people began connecting the pattern. First, it mimics the father's voice. Then it uses distress, saying "help," to trigger a response. Then it uses possessive language, "they're mine." And finally, it tries to force entry. This isn't a random activity. And in regions around old Appalachian mining land, stories like this aren't uncommon. Folklore often speaks of entities that don't show themselves right away. Instead, they imitate, they observe, and they wait for recognition. Because once you respond, once you acknowledge them, that's when they get closer. So what do you think? Is this house truly haunted, or is there another explanation for all that has happened? In this next video, Kyle, someone who's already dealt with one strange incident after another, is still trying to figure out what, if anything, connects all of it. Just when things seemed to calm down and the activity finally stopped, a new puzzle surfaced. Listen closely.
Listen. There's a voice coming from under the floor again. It's cold out here. This hasn't happened in a while. Okay. Close it back. I don't get it. I mean, things were quiet. They were, you know.
What makes this unsettling is how much it sounds like children playing inside his crawl space. Laughter, footsteps, faint giggles, all when the house is otherwise completely silent. What makes it worse is the timing. Kyle says he'd finally had several quiet days. No disturbances, no strange sounds, nothing to suggest whatever had been bothering him was still around. He started to believe the activity had passed, that maybe it really was over. And then this happens. Some people who follow Kyle's experiences closely say that when things go quiet, it isn't because whatever's there is gone, it's because it's waiting for the perfect moment to show itself again. Others speculate that whatever's causing this could be hiding in the crawl spaces or attic corners, places most people never think about. Small, tight areas where something could lurk, unseen, listening, maybe even feeding off the energy in the house. The very idea of something unseen pacing in crawl spaces or above your head at night is enough to make your skin crawl. Kyle is hoping this was just a one-off incident, a fleeting echo of what's come before. But after everything he's already experienced, the noises, the moving objects, the whispers that have followed him from room to room, it's not something he's willing to bet on. He knows better than anyone that whatever is in his home doesn't just go away. And for viewers watching this now, you can almost feel it. The quiet is never really quiet. Something is still there, just out of sight, and it's only a matter of time before it decides to make itself known again. Now this next clip was captured by a doorbell camera, and when the footage was revealed, it left viewers absolutely stunned. Watch closely. In the video, a shadow runs, but there's no one around. Half the people who've seen this are convinced it's paranormal, suggesting it could be a shadow entity or some residual energy replaying in that space. Others argue it's just a reflection, a trick of the lens, or some kind of glitch. But as always, I'll leave it to you to decide. Could this be a harmless shadow, or is something far more unsettling creeping around unseen?